Hi, welcome to the second part of the money and the interest rate lecture. Uh, this lecture is part of the introduction to economics course prepared for the Middlesex Technical University Northern Cyprus campus. And last time we have talked on the way coins were invented. Now we will turn to the banknotes. Basically, moment, moment. Okay, let me use this one. Okay, how are the banknotes invented? The banknotes are invented in this way. Well, as late as early as the Babylonian Empire, the temples, which were acting like banks, basically, had given way at least partially to the private bankers, and private bankers had, like today, they form big and famous families. Even some of their names are have come today. Those might be um, some of the people who we know from ancient eras, besides the kings and maybe the people who directly serve to the kings. Um, we know also some artists, but bankers are among the people again we know from the earliest eras. Um, and basically, what the banks do is they store your money, uh, the coins, or at the time of ancient Babylonia there were no coins, but in that case they store your gold and silver. And in return, they give you a piece of paper that's called banknote, of course, because before paper was invented, they give you a clay tablet uh, which has the same function. And basically, this paper means you can at any time go to bank and get a certain amount of, or to banker and get a certain amount of money from that banker. That's the basic logic. So banknotes were specific to the banks, and as time passed, basically the bankers had actually realized uh, not everyone was actually coming immediately to get their coins back, so they have started to lend part of those coins to them other people. So bankers become like the temples, the ultimate people who are loaning money. They were probably rich also before for this, by doing other types of business. And you can look the early bankers how they got rich. So they had their own money, the money stock or gold stock, basically. Um, However, they were also able to lend in time the money or gold, but that was belonging to someone else. So banks, the earliest bankers were before earliest coins were invented, basically. To some extent, you might say earliest banknotes also precede the earliest coins, basically. The main point is, however, that makes the banker's assumption that not everyone will come to their banks easier is once I got this banknote, I don't need to go to the bank. If this banknote means that I can go to bank and get 50 units of gold back, I can give very well this paper, which might be a tablet again in Babylonian Empire, to the person from whom I purchase good or service, and basically he might attain this piece of paper or tablet uh, because he knows that when he goes with this paper or tablet to the banker, that banker will give him or her a certain amount of gold coin or silver coin, and he himself might never go and get those coins back. He or she might use actually this paper further. So basically, the banknotes, which are representing the gold and silver coins or gold and silver inside of the banks, uh, have become have become money themselves. I mean, they become the tool, the basic instrument people are using to do exchange. However, note that at that point the banknotes were representing the gold. So someone have guaranteed whenever those papers were brought back, uh, they will be exchanged for a certain amount of gold and silver, basically. And the main problem is well, the main problem is since the bankers and the banks later have landed most of the money they have taken from other people to potential borrowers, they did not have the money, the money or gold of everyone inside of the bank. So if everyone whose money is in the bank will run to the bank to get their gold back, the bankers won't be able to pay them, basically. And that ratio, the ratio they might be able to pay at a certain time might get very small if the banker is really greedy. I mean, he wants to lend as much money as possible so that he will get the return from it. But even the safest banker, as long as he lends some money, is not safe. And whenever there is panic in an economic system, basically the banknotes that are used, I mean, the whole system might collapse because people think they have money inside of the bank, but when they run to the bank, they realize they won't have any money. So the banks will collapse, and that money will never pay back, basically. And as a result, economy will be harmed. Well, in early days, maybe this banking system was not that much crucial for the economic system. But once we got to 16th, 17th, and 18th century, increasing the availability of this banknotes, the way this monetary economy is functioning becomes more and more important. And especially as economy expands, well, if you just trade with the gold, basically, that might not be there won't be sufficient money in the economic system to do all the to basically be able to do all the transactions. But the banknotes can actually increase the amount of money in the economy because there's only 20% of, let's say, the gold is in the bank. The rest of the gold is already lent to other people, and it's also inside of the economy. But you also have, in addition to this 80% of the gold, the banknotes representing the full 100% also in the economy. So actually, the banknotes expand the amount of money in the economy. That's one thing. And you might be confused on this, but we will see the logic of it in the coming part of the course. But at least you can see this, I believe. If people run to the bank and they found they don't have the money, then I mean, their whole economic activity was depending on their belief they would be able to get the gold from the bank whenever they need. So when they just realize they have lost the money, they will stop demanding things, and then the whole economy, and basically the people who are selling them goods, they will also won't be able to get the income. As a result, the whole economy might collapse. So this possibility that the banking system might lead to a collapse of the whole economy in time makes states to create central banks, and central banks become the only place that can actually print the banknotes. Now, the central bank is the place which has been, after these central banks were created, central banks was the main place which was storing the gold, and in return they were printing money, the banknotes, basically. And central banks of the countries have guaranteed whenever you come to those central banks, you will be able to get that get gold back in return to the banknote of that particular central bank of a country. So each initial currency, pound, for example, pound was actually a British weight term. I mean, 1 pound was equivalent of the 1 pound of gold, basically, gold coin. Um, so basically, each country, basically, when they print the banknotes, they guarantee when you go to the central bank of that country, you will get a certain amount of gold back. Well, initially, there was a mixture of gold and silver, so each banknote was representing in some countries a certain amount of gold plus a certain amount of silver. But in time, the money started to represent only gold, not anymore silver. And the United States was one of the last countries that measured countries that left this gold silver mixed standard, basically. Um, so you got central banks. The normal banks now just get the money from the central bank, and they still handle the money. You bring your money to the central bank, the normal banks, and that normal money, the banknotes are basically are lent to other people. So the banks become handlers of the banknotes, basically, instead of handlers of the gold itself and printing their own banknotes. Um, well, they still today kind of the banking system still start to have a similar function, but we will see how they got that similar function they had in the earliest times. I mean, in the time of the Babylonian Empire, ancient Greeks, and basically ancient Italy, where basically taking the gold, they were the ones actually they were creating money. So the banks can today also create money. We will see how. But initially, you might say that the primitive way of banks, the primitive way banks were creating money, that method was taken over by the central banks in time. What happened next was, well, once the states become the primary, they get the function of printing money, and they were again promising, as it was before, to pay a certain amount of gold in return of the banknotes, basically. Well, at certain times when they need extraordinary amount of money, especially at the time of war, they might say, okay, temporarily for 2 or 3 years, I won't pay gold in return of my banknote. At the end of that period, especially if it's a war, they won the war and they will get some religious time and some money from the losing nation. They will get the ability to pay that. Pay in return. So they print a lot of banknotes. They make payments with those banknotes, and they purchase something. But in time, for the time being, they don't pay any. They don't guarantee. I mean, if the people who got the banknotes will go to the bank, central bank. For the time being, they say we won't pay you back. We will pay you back once the war is over. I mean, we will. I mean, transform your banknotes into gold once the war is over, not before. Before the war is over, we won't transform your banknotes to gold, even if you want us to do that. That's the case is actually named as closing the gold window. I mean, the window is when go to bank, go to a window to make transactions. Now that window is closed, you cannot do that transaction anymore. Well, and this happens especially at the World War One and World War Two. Uh, and at the World War One, basically, all countries that were involved were so much indebted. Even after the war, they were not able to open the gold window for a long time. And in World War II, they have closed the gold window once again. Now, people thought that some economists, I think Keynes was involved, in order to create stability to the gold system, this monetary system, this system should be revised and it should turn to an international system. So how can you do that? He said, well, because the countries are so much dependent on each other, having each country to print their own national currency and guarantee it with their own gold reserve is something that could be fragile. I mean, countries could not find sufficient gold to make the system stable because they want to make a lot of spending with a lot of banknotes, but the gold reserves they have is not enough. Even if a small portion of people come and want to transform this nation, I mean, these banknotes, they want to have enough gold to give them. So, what is the solution they have come in return? Well, they have actually planned the solution in a place called Bretton Woods, a skiing resort today in New Hampshire, United States. We will see what the solution was in the third part. See you in the third.